Captain Eli Morgan had seen many strange things in his years among the stars, but nothing had prepared him for the moment he first saw Princess Leora of Vailari. The great hall of the alien empire was built of crystal and silver, its ceiling high enough to hold a small moon. Every step echoed through the silence as the human envoy entered, surrounded by alien guards in glowing armor. And there, on a throne made of light itself, she sat, the one they called the Daughter of the Moons. Leora's skin shimmered faintly under the twin lights of Carthia's suns. Her hair, pale as frost, flowed down her shoulders like liquid silver, but it was her eyes that caught Eli's breath, glowing blue, deep and ancient, yet filled with something soft and lonely. She looked at him once, just once. But that single look changed everything. Eli had come here not as a lover, but as a soldier and diplomat, to end a long and bloody war between humans and Vailari. His orders were clear: do not get close to the royal bloodline. The Vailari were not like humans. They fed on energy, lived for centuries, and saw other species as fragile things, useful, but beneath them. Yet as Eli bowed before her, he felt something stir inside him, a pull he couldn't explain. Maybe it was the way she carried herself, half proud, half trapped. Maybe it was the sadness behind her perfect composure. Whatever it was, it cut deeper than reason. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft, almost musical. "Welcome, Captain Morgan of Earth, you have come seeking peace." "Yes, Your Highness," he replied, trying to keep his tone steady. "Our people have suffered long enough. It's time to end the bloodshed." Her lips curved faintly, not quite a smile. "Peace is not easily given, human. My mother, the Empress, does not trust your kind." "I don't blame her," Eli said quietly. "We've both lost too much." Something flickered in her eyes, recognition, maybe even pain. "You have lost?" she asked softly. "My brother," he said, "during the siege of Vega Outpost." For a moment, silence filled the room. The alien guards stood still as statues, and then, to his surprise, Leora lowered her gaze. "I lost someone too," she whispered. "A friend. A human soldier. He saved me once. My mother called it a disgrace." Eli looked at her then, truly looked. She wasn't just a princess or a symbol of power. She was a living being, trapped in duty, carrying a weight too heavy for her heart. That was the first moment he saw her not as an alien, but as someone human. Over the next few days he saw her again. Sometimes in council chambers, sometimes across the gardens that floated above the city like clouds. She moved with quiet grace, her every step watched by guards. Yet whenever their eyes met, she held his gaze. Curious, cautious, and kind rumors whispered through the human camp. "She's dangerous. She can drain your life with a touch. She's a predator, not a woman." But Eli didn't believe that. He had seen fear in her eyes, not hunger. He had seen warmth, not cruelty. One night he found himself walking the upper terraces alone, unable to sleep. The moons hung low, their light silver and cold. That's when he heard a voice behind him, soft, uncertain. "Captain." He turned. She stood there without guards, her cloak fluttering in the wind. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "Neither should you," she replied, a hint of amusement in her tone. They stood in silence for a while, just looking at the stars. Then she asked, "Tell me, Captain, what does your world look like?" Eli smiled faintly. "Blue bright, full of noise and life. And hope even when things seem broken." Leora nodded slowly. "Hope," she repeated, tasting the word. "We have forgotten what that feels like." And in that quiet night above Carthia, two hearts, one human, one alien, began to beat in rhythm. It was not love yet. It was something gentler, smaller, but it was enough to start the story that would one day shake two worlds. As he walked back that night, Eli knew he had broken his first order. He had spoken to the alien princess, and though he didn't understand it yet, his fate was already sealed. Days passed after their first meeting, yet Captain Eli Morgan couldn't push her image from his mind. The way her voice sounded under the moons, the sadness behind her perfect calm, it haunted him. He tried to stay busy with peace talks, endless reports, and diplomatic dinners. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw Princess Leora's face. Those glowing eyes that looked not proud, but lonely. He knew it was dangerous. Humans were not supposed to approach Vailari royalty without permission, but every rule, Every warning felt small compared to the quiet pull inside his chest. And so one evening, as silver rain fell softly over the royal gardens, Eli walked there again. The air smelled like strange flowers and metal. He told himself he was only clearing his head, but deep down he hoped she would appear. She did. Leora stood by the fountain, the soft blue glow of her skin reflected in the water. She looked up when she heard him, but she didn't seem surprised. "You came back," she said quietly. "I didn't mean to disturb you," Eli replied, though his heart was pounding. "You're not disturbing me," she said. "You're—" A welcome sound. For a while they simply stood there. The world around them was quiet, as if even the stars were listening. Then Leora spoke again, her tone low and thoughtful. "Your people, they fight so fiercely. Even when they are broken, they rise again. I don't understand how." Eli smiled faintly. "Because we have hope, even when there's no reason left." She turned her head, studying him. "Hope," she whispered. "You speak that word often. We Vailari stopped believing in it long ago. Then maybe it's time you remember." Her lips curved into a small, uncertain smile, and for the first time, Eli saw something new in her eyes. Not power, not command, but a kind of wonder. That night was the first of many. They began meeting in secret, in the gardens, in quiet corners of the palace, sometimes in the reflection rooms where time seemed to stand still. They spoke of their worlds, of their lives, and the things both had lost. Leora told him about her mother, the Empress, a ruler cold as ice, who believed love was weakness. She told him about her brother, lost in the early years of the war, and how her mother's heart had turned to stone ever since. Eli told her about Earth, the oceans, the laughter, the smell of rain on soil. He told her about his brother, too, how he died defending strangers he would never meet. They were two souls from different stars, yet their pain was the same. Sometimes when she laughed, that soft, musical laugh, Eli would forget she was alien, forget the fangs that hid behind her lips, forget that her touch could steal the warmth from his skin if she lost control. And once, as they stood close beside the crystal fountain, he reached for her hand without thinking. Her fingers were cool, delicate, trembling slightly. She didn't pull away. "You're not afraid?" she asked in a whisper. "I should be," he said honestly. "But I'm not." Her silver eyes softened. "You're strange, Captain," he smiled. "I've been told that before." From that night on, everything changed. Their meetings grew longer. Their words grew bolder. She began to smile more, to speak like someone learning to live again. And Eli, a soldier hardened by loss, began to feel something he thought had died long ago. Love. But danger always hides behind beauty. The palace was full of eyes and whispers. The royal guards had started to notice her late walks, and the human officers had grown suspicious of Eli's nightly disappearances. One evening, as they met in the shadowed courtyard, Leora looked uneasy. "If my mother finds out," she said, "she'll kill you." Eli stepped closer. "Then let her try." She blinked in surprise. "You would risk your life for a few moments with me?" "For a few moments with you," he said softly. "I'd risk everything." Her breath caught. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then she whispered something in her own tongue. "Mirian." "What does that mean?" he asked. She smiled faintly, eyes glistening. "It means, the one who awakens my soul." He didn't know what to say. He just stood there, feeling his heart beat against the cold night air. The stars above Carthia shone brighter that night, as if the universe itself was watching. Two hearts, one human, one alien, had just stepped across a line neither could ever return from. And in that quiet space between danger and desire, their story truly began. The nights on Carthia grew colder and the danger around them thicker. Captain Eli Morgan and Princess Leora continued to meet in the shadows, hearts bound by a secret that could destroy them both. Every time he saw her, Eli felt more alive. Every time she smiled, Leora felt more human. But in the royal palace, secrets didn't stay hidden forever. The Vailari court was filled with spies and whispers. Even the walls seemed to listen. Guards began to question why the princess often disappeared after sunset. The Empress's advisors grew suspicious of her gentle behavior, her distracted eyes during meetings, her sudden kindness toward the humans she once ignored. One evening, as Eli waited for her in the moon garden, something in the air felt wrong. The wind was still too quiet. He felt a presence watching him. But before he could react, soft footsteps came. Her footsteps. "Leora," he whispered as she stepped from the shadows. Her smile was warm, but tired. "I had to see you again," she said. "I don't know how much longer we can keep this secret." He reached out and took her hand. "Then let's not keep it secret," he said. "Let them know what we feel." Her expression turned pained. "You don't understand. My mother's rule is absolute. If she finds out, she'll destroy you and me." "I don't care," Eli said, his voice trembling. "I can't pretend anymore. Every day without you feels like I'm half alive." Her eyes shimmered, tears threatening to fall. "You foolish human," she whispered. "Why must your kind always love so deeply even when it hurts?" "Because that's what makes us human," he said softly. "We love, even when it breaks us." For a moment the world was quiet, just the two of them standing close under the glowing moons. Then as he leaned closer, something sharp cut the air. The sound of armored boots. The garden lights flared. Guards poured in from every side, their silver weapons pointed straight at him. Eli froze. Leora gasped. "Princess!" shouted the captain of the guard. "Step away from the human!" She moved in front of Eli, shielding him. "No," she cried. "He means no harm." But the guards didn't listen. One of them struck Eli across the face with a metal rod, and he fell to the marble floor, blood spilling down his chin. Leora screamed his name, rushing to him, but they grabbed her arms and held her back. "Enough!" A cold voice rang through the courtyard. The guards fell silent. And then she appeared, the Empress of Vailari, tall and terrible, her robe shimmering like molten silver. Her eyes glowed with a power that made even the air feel heavy. "So," the Empress said slowly, her voice like ice. "The rumors were true. My daughter, consorting with a human." Leora trembled. "Mother, please, silence!" The Empress snapped. Her gaze turned toward Eli, who struggled to stand. "You have defiled royal blood with your weakness, human. You dare touch what is sacred to us?" Eli met her stare, blood on his lips. "I touched nothing sacred. I only loved your daughter." The Empress's eyes narrowed. "Love, you speak of love as if it can exist between our kinds. You are nothing but a fleeting spark. She is eternal. You will die long before she tires of the thought of you." Leora tried to break free, tears streaming down her face. "He's not like the others, Mother. He understands me. Enough!" The Empress raised her hand, and a beam of pale energy shot through the air. Eli felt a burning pain in his chest as he was thrown backward. His vision blurred, his breath fading. He could hear her voice, Leora's, crying his name again and again, desperate and broken. "Take him away," the Empress ordered coldly. "Lock him in the orbital cells. He will rot above this world as a reminder of what happens when humans forget their place." The guards dragged Eli away. His blood stained the marble floor. But as he was pulled from the garden, his eyes found hers one last time. "Eli," she shouted through her tears. "I will find you again. I swear it. Even if I have to cross the stars." He smiled weakly, whispering through the pain, "I'll wait for you, Leora." Then darkness took him. The last thing he saw was her face, the alien princess who had made him believe love could bridge galaxies, being dragged back toward a throne of light and cruelty. And as the doors closed between them, a single truth burned in both their hearts. No prison, no empire, could keep them apart forever. Captain Eli Morgan woke to the hum of machinery and the cold sting of metal cuffs around his wrists. The walls were gray, the air thin and dry. A single window showed the curve of the planet below, Carthia, glowing blue beneath the stars. He was in the orbital prison, a place for traitors and those who dared to defy the Vailari crown. Every hour felt like a lifetime. He had no voice left to call her name, no strength left to fight. Yet his heart would not stop whispering her name inside his mind. Leora. He replayed the last moment again and again, her voice crying for him, her silver eyes full of pain, the guards tearing them apart. The memory was a wound that refused to close. Days turned into weeks. The guards rarely spoke. They brought him strange food that tasted like ash. He barely touched it. He'd sit by the window instead, staring at the planet below, wondering if she was looking up at the same stars. Sometimes, when he couldn't sleep, He would talk to himself softly. "You said you'd find me, Leora," he murmured into the empty cell. Maybe that was just a dream. But I'll wait anyway. And he did wait. Every day. Every night. Then one night something changed. The lights flickered, and once, twice, and went out. The hum of the prison engines grew faint. Eli sat up slowly, his heart pounding. He thought it might be a power failure or maybe the guards coming for him. But then he heard it. A sound, soft, light, and familiar, on footsteps. The door slid open with a quiet hiss. A shadow stepped through, cloaked in silver and black. For a moment, Eli thought he was dreaming. "Eli," a whisper came. He knew that voice. He would have known it even in death. "Leora?" His voice broke. She pulled back her hood, and there she was. Eyes shining like stars, tears glistening down her cheeks. "I told you I would find you," she said, her voice trembling. He stood weakly, chains still clinging to his wrists. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "They'll kill you if they find out." "I don't care," she said, stepping closer. "I won't let them take you from me again." With a wave of her hand, the cuffs released and fell to the floor. She looked thinner, tired, but her spirit was still fierce. Eli touched her face gently, afraid she'd vanish if he blinked. "You came for me," he whispered. She smiled through her tears. "Did you ever doubt I would?" For a long moment, they just held each other, two lost souls wrapped in silence and the hum of distant engines. Her skin was cool against his, her heart beating fast beneath it. "How did you do this?" he asked quietly. "I had help," she said. "There are those in the court who believe in peace and in love. They risked their lives to get me here." He shook his head in disbelief. "You're risking everything, Leora." Her eyes softened. "What good is a crown if it costs me the only person who makes me feel alive?" Eli took her hands and looked into her glowing eyes. "You shouldn't say that. You're their future. You belong to them, and you belong to no one," she said. "That's what I love about you." Her voice broke when she said the word love. It trembled, honest and afraid. They stood close, forehead to forehead. The stars outside burned bright like 1,000 witnesses to their defiance. "What happens now?" Eli whispered. She looked at him with quiet resolve. "Now we run." He almost laughed, though tears burned his eyes. "Run from an empire? From everything that wants to keep us apart," she said. "There's a small ship hidden in the lower hangar. It can take us beyond their reach." He hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Then let's go." Before they moved, she cupped his face in her hands, her touch gentle as moonlight. "Eli," she whispered, "you once said humans love even when it breaks them." "I didn't understand before, but I do now." He smiled faintly, resting his hand over hers. "Then maybe you're more human than you think." They kissed, soft, trembling, full of all the words they couldn't say. The stars seemed to pause outside, as if the universe itself held its breath. When they pulled apart, Leora whispered, "No more prisons. No more hiding." Eli nodded. "Just us." And hand in hand, they stepped into the shadow, leaving behind a world that would never forgive them, and walking toward a future that might never accept them. But for that moment, under the cold light of the stars, they were free. The alarms had already begun to echo through the prison halls when Captain Eli, Morgan, and Princess Leora ran through the narrow corridors. Red lights flashed above them, sirens screamed, and the sound of armored boots thundered in the distance. "Security breach in Sector 12. A mechanical voice roared through the speakers. "All units intercept." Leora's cloak flowed behind her like silver fire as she led him through hidden doors and maintenance shafts. Eli's heart pounded in his chest, half from fear, half from disbelief. Just hours ago, he'd been a prisoner waiting to die. Now he was running beside an alien princess who had risked everything for him. "How much farther?" he gasped. "Almost there," she said, her voice steady but breathless. "The hangar is below us." They stopped before a large metal door. Leora placed her hand on a glowing panel and the lock hissed open. Inside was a small silver ship, sleek, silent, built for stealth. Eli stared in awe. "You stole a Royal Scout craft?" She smiled faintly. "Borrowed. I plan to return it, someday." Even in danger, she could still smile. And that smile was enough to make him forget the chaos behind them. As they climbed aboard, the ship's systems came to life with a low hum. The lights inside turned soft blue, wrapping them in calm for just a heartbeat before the storm. The doors opened, and the stars of Carthia filled the view, bright, cold, Endless, hold on, Leora said. The engines roared and the ship shot forward like lightning, breaking through the upper hangar before the guards could close it. Laser fire chased them immediately, red streaks across the night sky. Eli grabbed the controls beside her. I'll handle the shields. Just keep flying. The ship spun through debris and asteroid dust, each explosion lighting up their faces. Leora's eyes glowed brighter as she focused, using her power to stabilize the engines. You'll burn yourself out, Eli warned. Your energy, I can handle it, she said firmly, though her voice trembled slightly. I won't lose you again. For hours they flew, dodging the enemy fleet that spread across the stars like a silver storm. The Vailari were fast, but the scout ship was faster. Still, each blast shook the hull and the air inside grew tense and hot. Eli glanced at her, saw the faint light flickering under her skin, the mark of her life force draining. Stop using your power, Leora, he shouted. You'll die. She turned to him, her lips trembling into a sad smile. Better to die protecting the one who made me feel alive. He froze, her words cutting straight through the roar of the engines. And in that moment, with death chasing them, he realized the truth he had tried to deny. He loved her, completely. The words escaped his mouth before he could think. Leora, I want to wed you. Time stopped. Even the noise of battle faded for a second. She looked at him, eyes wide, glowing softly under the lights. What did you say? She whispered. I want to wed you, he repeated, voice shaking but certain. If we die out here, I want you to know it. I love you. And I want you not as a dream, not as a secret, but as my life. Her breath caught, tears welling up in her silver eyes. Eli, she whispered, her hand reaching for his. But before she could answer, a sharp explosion rocked the ship. The control panels sparked. They were hit. The hull screamed as metal tore apart. Warning lights blazed across the cabin. They've locked onto us, Leora shouted. We're losing the stabilizers. Eli grabbed the emergency lever and forced the ship into a dive toward a nearby nebula, a storm of colors and gas that could hide them, or destroy them. Trust me, he yelled. Leora closed her eyes and nodded. Always. The ship plunged into the nebula, lightning crackling around them, clouds of purple and gold swallowing the stars. For a moment, everything went weightless. Silence, then light, then nothing. When they finally burst through the other side, the alarms went quiet. The fleet was gone. The stars stretched before them, endless, calm, free. Eli turned to her. She was pale, exhausted, but smiling faintly. You did it, he said softly. No, she whispered, resting her head against his shoulder. We did. Outside the window, the nebula glowed like a heart made of fire. Inside, two souls, one human, one alien, breathed the same air, bound by a love that had just defied an empire. She closed her eyes, whispering something in her ancient tongue, and he caught only one word, Mirian. The one who awakens my soul, she had once told him. And as the stars moved around them, he knew he'd found the only place he'd ever truly belong. Not a planet, not a nation, but her. The small scout ship drifted silently through the empty sea of stars. Its engines hummed weakly, running on the last drops of energy. Inside, the light was soft and dim, a faint blue glow that painted Eli's face with worry and Leora's with peace. They had escaped the Empire's fleet, but at a heavy cost. The ship's navigation was broken, their communication jammed, and Leora's strength had faded dangerously low. The strange shimmer beneath her skin, the light that marked her royal blood, was now only a flicker. Eli sat beside her, adjusting the controls, trying to find a nearby planet. You need rest, he said gently, glancing at her pale face. She smiled faintly. I don't need rest. I need you to stop worrying. How can I not? He said, his voice breaking slightly. You saved me. You risked everything. And now? He swallowed hard, unable to finish. Leora reached out weakly, placing her cool hand over his. You humans, she whispered softly. You feel everything so deeply. Maybe that's why I fell for you. Eli froze. Her words hit him like the warmth of sunlight after endless cold. He turned his hand and held hers tightly. You mean that? He asked. Her eyes opened slowly and she gave a small nod. When you said you wanted to wed me, you didn't just save my life, Eli. You saved something I thought I had lost. My heart. Silence filled the cabin for a long while. The stars outside shimmered like a million candles watching them. Eli brushed a strand of silver hair from her face and whispered, "Then marry me. Not for politics, not for peace, but for us." Her lips curved into a weak but real smile. "Humans have such bold hearts," she murmured. "On my world, love is a quiet thing. We hide it behind duty and pride, but you speak it like fire." He chuckled softly. "Maybe that's all I know how to do. Burn for someone who means everything." For a while, neither of them spoke. The ship glided quietly, its damaged hull creaking. Leora leaned against his shoulder, her breathing calm but fragile. "Back on Carthia," she said slowly, "there's a place we call the Valley of Winds. It's where royal unions are made, under the twin moons, before the whole empire. No war, no lies, just vows spoken from soul to soul." Eli looked at her, his heart tightening. "Will you take me there one day?" "If fate allows," she whispered. "But if it doesn't, then let these stars be our witnesses tonight." Her voice trembled, soft as falling snow. Eli turned toward the viewport. The galaxy stretched endlessly, colors shifting like oceans of light. He stood, reached out his hand to her, and said, "Then let it be tonight." Leora stared at him in surprise, tears glimmering in her silver eyes. "You mean now?" He nodded. "We may not have tomorrow, but right now, here, I choose you." Slowly she stood, her legs trembling. The faint light within her body glowed again, fragile but alive. She took his hand, and together they stood before the stars. "I, Eli Morgan," he said softly, "pledge my heart and life to you, no matter the world, no matter the time." Her lips trembled, and her voice followed like music. "And I, Leora of Carthia, pledge my soul to yours. From this breath until the stars fade." A gentle pulse of light surrounded them, soft and golden. The ship's sensors flickered as if recognizing the vow. Leora's ancient blood responded to her words, binding her essence to his. Eli felt it, a warmth spreading through his chest, a quiet peace that silenced all fear. When the light faded, she leaned her head against his chest. "It is done," she whispered. "You are now bound to me as I am to you." He smiled, holding her close. "Then I guess I'm your husband now, princess." She looked up at him, her smile soft and glowing. "No," she said. "My equal. My chosen one." Outside, the stars seemed to shimmer brighter as if blessing their union. But deep in the distance, beyond the glowing nebula, shadows were gathering. The Empire had not given up. They had tracked the energy pulse of her royal vow. As Eli and Leora held each other beneath the endless sky, unaware of what was coming, their promise echoed through the cosmos. Two hearts defying galaxies, daring to love where none ever had before. And in that quiet, sacred moment, both of them believed, even if the universe burned, their love would survive the ashes. The peace did not last. 3 days after their starbound vow, alarms screamed across the tiny ship. Eli woke to the sound of warning lights flashing red. The screen showed a dark shape approaching fast in a Carthian war cruiser. "They found us," he whispered. Leora stood beside him, her hand pressed against the glass, her expression calm but filled with sorrow. "I knew they would," she said softly. The vow sent a signal through the stars. The royal blood always calls home. Eli turned toward her, desperate. "Then we'll run again. There must be somewhere we can hide." She shook her head. "You don't understand, Eli. They won't stop. Not until they take me, or kill you." Her words stabbed his heart like a knife. "Then they'll have to go through me first." He gripped the flight controls, ready to burn the engines, but Leora placed her hand gently over his. Her touch was soft, glowing faintly. "No, my love. You've done enough. You gave me freedom. You gave me love. Now let me protect it." Before he could argue, she pressed her forehead against his, eyes full of tears. "If anything happens, remember this. You taught me what it means to live." The warship loomed closer. Beams of blue light filled the void, scanning their small vessel. The power readings began to spike. They were being pulled in. Eli tried to break free, but the controls locked up. "Leora, it's too strong," he shouted. She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the center of the ship, her aura brightening until her whole body shimmered with silver light. The energy around her began to hum. Ancient, powerful, royal. "Leora, what are you doing?" Eli cried, rushing to her. She smiled faintly, tears falling like glass beads. Ending this, Eli, once and for all. No. He grabbed her shoulders, trembling. There has to be another way. She looked up at him, the same soft smile that stole his heart the first time he saw her. There isn't, but I promise you will live. You must live. For both of us. The light grew brighter, filling the room, wrapping around them both. Eli tried to hold her, but she pushed him gently back. I will not let them hurt you, she whispered. He fell to his knees, helpless, watching her glow like a star. Then, in a voice filled with love and pain, she spoke ancient Carthian words, the oath of severance. The power only a royal could command. It was a vow to erase herself from the Empire's bond, to break all ties, even if it cost her life. The war cruiser's scanners flared white, then shattered under the surge. The ship trembled as the energy wave burst outward, engulfing everything in a sphere of light. Eli screamed her name, but her voice was already fading. Eli, she said softly, my answer is yes. It has always been yes. Then the light took her. Silence followed. When Eli woke again, the ship floated peacefully in the quiet of deep space. The cruiser was gone, vanished, destroyed, or fled. But Leora was nowhere to be found. He searched every corner, calling her name again and again. Nothing but stillness answered. On the pilot's seat, he found a small shimmer of silver dust, the last trace of her being, and beside it, a crystal pendant glowing faintly. He picked it up, clutching it to his chest. Her voice echoed softly in his mind, a whisper across the stars. My answer is yes. Always. Tears streamed down his face, silent and endless. He sat by the window, staring into the darkness where her light had once been. The stars outside seemed dimmer now, but he could still feel her. Not gone, just beyond reach. Days passed. He repaired the ship slowly, alone, driven only by her memory. And when the engines finally came alive again, he set a course toward the Valley of Winds, the place she once spoke of. When he landed on Carthia's surface weeks later, he carried her pendant and walked into the valley beneath the twin moons. There he placed the glowing crystal on the soft soil and whispered, You kept your promise. Now I'll keep mine. The wind rose gently, swirling silver dust around him, and for a brief moment, he felt her hand brush his cheek. Cool, tender, eternal. Eli smiled through his tears. I love you, Leora, he whispered, in this life, and every life after. And as the moons glowed bright above him, the wind carried her voice one last time, soft and full of peace. And I, Leora of Carthia, love you, Eli of Earth, until the stars fade.